sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the Conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. It's the hump hour of the humpiest hump day that there is in the week, which is Wednesday. Is that right, Joe?
That's correct.
Wednesday, you're listening to WMNF 88.5 FM. And if you're listening from anywhere in the world, any time zone, it's WMNF.org. Just take into consideration the time zone change. So right about now, it's about 5 p.m. in London. It's somewhere around, 5 a.m. in Hawaii. So that's about 12 time zones, Joey. We're covering a lot of different places. And of course, let me just say for the record, I'm your host, one of your two hosts, Mario Nunez. And as always, I'm seated alongside my broadcast partner, Joe King Carter.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Wow.
That was a lot, right?
That was a big mouthful.
Yeah.
There's, we're being listened to around the world. The wonders of technology. It's quite amazing.
I love it. And let me just say also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that at the beginning of last week's show, and if you missed it, I strongly encourage everybody to go back and listen. We had Colonel Dr. Darren McCauley with us last week. We delved deeply into his personal narrative, and I tell you what, he's a fascinating individual. And we were so grateful to have him on the show. We did start the show with some technical snafu difficulties. Joey, do you remember what happened? Can you recall what happened? If not, I'll recall you.
Recall it for me.
Well, you can hear it right in the archives. If you go to the show, the first thing out of my mouth was, "Are we on? Are we on?"
Yeah.
Because here's what happened. See, we broadcast these shows. We simulcast these shows from our Facebook page, which is The Conversation WMNF. So if you'd like to watch the behind-the-scenes goings-on, you can certainly listen to the radio. But if you'd like to watch it and hear it in real time, we do that. Technology is our friend, Joey.
Correct.
So last week when I plugged everything in and got it all ready, and we're shooting it through the iPhone, and we're bowling for score, as they say, all of a sudden I was dead in the water. I couldn't hear myself in the headphones. And I'm thinking, oh no, what is happening? I thought it might have been the headphone jack. And Joey, as it turns out, I finally, because the little battery pack needs to be recharged every once in a while. Come on, Mario.
Yes.
Recharge that battery, son. Well, I didn't have my battery pack charged, so we weren't able to simulcast last week. We did do Facebook Live, but the problem is we weren't coming through the board. So the callers that called in, you couldn't hear those comments. But now we've got it all corrected. I'm charged up, powered up, loaded for bear, and brother, we are live, WMNF 88.5. This is The Conversation. And how was your week, brother?
And, well, my week was excellent.
Damn, Joey?
It was a good week. But, there's always a party going on in my head. So,
are we invited?
I feel that positivism can be spread like a virus, and
a good virus.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with Sam before here at WMNF before our show about this, and I think that it's no longer a system of discipline on my part. It just happens accidentally. I just want to go through the world and of course we all have these problems, and we all get very down, and we let the negativity of the world wash over us, and sometimes it grabs us, and it even can hurt us physically. But, I try to be positive about life, and I think that's the fighter's way of going into the ring.
I love it.
Is to be fight.
I love it. And the fact that you mentioned it in that regard, it reminds us that we need to lean in.
Yes.
As my grandmother, my abuelita, used to tell me all the time, she would say, baby, life, this ain't no dress rehearsal. This is the real thing.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, if you've got some things that you need to take care of, that, be positive about the outcome. The outcome will be what the outcome's going to be. And in times of trouble, that positivity might help temper some of the disappointment. So this is Wednesday, and it's the conversation with Mario and Joe.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to infuse today into the conversation. We're going to talk about some topics that are going to be hit hard. They're going to be heavy.
Right.
but we're always going to put a good spin on it at the end, right?
Yeah, or maybe not so heavy. Who knows?
Okay. All right.
But,
Joe.
you mentioned last week's show and how it started out with a fail, and it was a little clumsy in the beginning.
It was awkward.
Let's just come right out and say it today. We have we're gonna just take this show wherever it goes today.
I love it. I don't mind that.
Yeah, and because
Sometimes you've got to get into listen, sometimes you jump into the kayak, you jump into your vessel, and you get on down the river, and if you're not navigating and you don't know exactly what's around that next corner,
Right.
you might hit some fast water.
indeed,
And when you do, be ready.
Yeah.
Be nimble. And that's what we're going to be today. We're going to be ready. We're going to be nimble.
And so therefore today, ultimately, our listeners will be our guests. We don't have a scheduled guest today, but to that point, I would like to ask this of our audience.
What's that, Joe?
If you each week we try to bring to you someone of interest, someone who is
Culturally significant?
maybe not even significant, maybe just an average guy, an average Joe. Sorry about that.
Oh, no.
But the thing is, we
Go ahead.
we try to bring a personal narrative to this show, and in doing that, what is different about our show than the other public affairs shows is that they are often issue driven, and they are excellent, and they are wonderful. And before us in the morning is Shelley and Shelley Reback.
Yes.
And we have just some great shows on WMNF. I'm so proud. But we do something a little different. We bring somebody in and we talk about their personal narrative, and we talk about how they feel about life and how they feel about their lives.
Yes.
And that is something that we do here. And therefore, you don't have to be a big shot to be on our show. You don't have to be somebody super special. You can just
But
be
it doesn't
an average
hurt.
guy.
I'm just going to say it up
No,
front.
it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
But you could just be an average person. So here's my point. If you out there in the audience know of someone that you think might make an interesting interview,
Have a great story to tell.
let us know.
There you go. And how would they let us know, Joey?
Well, they can let us know, first of all, at dj@wmnf.org.
That's right.
And simply address it to the conversation.
Or they can go to our Facebook page, which is The Conversation WMNF, right? The
Yeah.
Conversation
Yeah.
WMNF. And they can just send us a message there, send us some love there. I like that, Joey.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you were just honest enough to say, hey, we need to solicit from our listening audience to find out.
Well, why not?
Well, I agree.
It's
I agree.
community radio.
Jeez, Joey.
And
You
if
beat me to it again.
the community needs to come on in, so let's do it.
All right, kid. We're off and running. I know. Listen, we got our topics all selected. I got mine, and you got yours.
Yeah.
I'm going to defer age before beauty. Joey, what you got?
Well, on the cultural landscape, what's
Yes, sir.
coming up that's going to have an impact on Tampa in the very near future is Gasparilla.
What does that mean?
Well, that is
For the
our...
people that don't know, and I can't imagine the three people listening that don't know what Gasparilla is.
Somebody in Tacoma might be listening.
Give us the thumbnail on
So
that.
we have here a citywide event in which we have multiple parades, 3 parades to be exact,
Yes.
and an entire series of events, music, film festivals, art shows. We have all kinds of things that are connected now to Gasparilla, but the original idea for Gasparilla was kind of a Chamber of Commerce kind of idea, which was to bring people to Tampa and to give Tampa something to celebrate.
Love it.
And we sort of patterned in the initial early days at the turn of the century, the turn of the
20th century.
20th century.
Right.
We
Over
sort
100
of-
years ago now.
Yeah, absolutely. We sort of patterned that, apparently, after Mardi Gras, in which we have crews, and these crews are involving themselves in engaging with the invasion of Jose Gaspar.
And who was he?
Jose Gaspar.
Who was that guy?
Well, are there, if the children are listening, please send them out of the room.
Okay.
Because I'm going to reveal this fact. There never was a Jose Gaspar.
Oh, Joey. That was a soft bell ring. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's a very soft bell ring.
He's a mythic character. I'm sorry, folks. For those of you out there who believe that he's real.
Is that
not.
you, Santa Claus?
Yeah, right. So I believe, if I remember this correctly, I haven't even pulled up research today to look at this, but if I'm not mistaken, the very beginnings of Jose Gaspar came from a restaurateur south of here, I believe, in the sort of Fort Myers area, who at the turn of the century had a restaurant, and he was trying to get people to come down. Now, you got to remember, this is Florida in 1900, and so I don't know what Fort Myers was like, but it was a little village, I assume. And,
a little fishing village, more than likely.
More or less. And so he had a restaurant there on the water, and he decided to create this character and make a big presentation,
complete narrative
in his restaurant, saying this was the site where Jose Gaspar landed in X period, whatever that year was, and this sort of was the seed of the infection of the myth.
And, well before we had anything akin to the internet, so research wasn't necessarily readily available, and you could create your own narrative.
Of course.
And who would dispute it 20 years later, maybe when it's debunked?
Of course.
You've developed your business model.
Well, mythic news, well, people talk about all this stuff about yellow journalism and fake news. That's been with us throughout time.
Correct.
And so it's not like there's a magical system in which all people tell the truth.
So what is it about pirates in particular? Because, whether it's the pirates in Penn's pants, I don't know what that means, or, the swashbucklers of the Errol Flynn era in cinema, pirates were scoundrels. Pirates were not necessarily, speaking of Chamber of Commerce, these were not people that the Chamber of Commerce would have invited in to speak to them.
No.
In many ways, pirates were ne'er-do-wells. They were the ones that they were running away from persecution or from the law. And in many cases, I mean, these were not necessarily great people. Now, the captains had to be able to sail the vessel, so they were highly skilled. But the crew was, we've seen
skullduggery,
a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Well, no, I think that's a fascinating question.
Right.
It's kind of like why we like gangsters. I think
same thing.
We have a love affair with gangsters in our culture, and I think that part of it is because they seem to have their own special code of honor, and this is sort of what made movies like The Godfather and Mario Puzo's book and all this stuff. But the point is. And gangster movies have been with us. They're still with us. And they
George Barrett, going back to the days
some
of
the
George
first talkie movies were gangster movies. So we're fascinated by gangsters and we're fascinated by pirates.
Okay.
And really they're marauding, murdering, and this ugly word, raping individuals. So there's nothing there to admire. And yet somehow... they become romanticized.
So let's pose this question to our listening audience now. We'll give them the phone number so they can call in and advise us, because I've just hit a wall. So if things come in threes, Joe, right? You complete the set of threes, right? And we can go on and on about that. But okay, so we said pirates, we said gangsters that have the same type of personality type, right? Which is demented and defected. What's the third one? What's the third group that we romanticize about? That, and I don't know. I'm honestly asking. I don't know.
Well,
if out there somebody's yelling at the radio saying,
okay,
this is the group.
I have some ideas, but you want me to leave it at check?
Yeah, let's see if we get any calls on that.
Okay.
And if so, maybe you can just write it down, Joey. Write it down on your notepad and see if
one thing
anybody
is
can
for sure,
confirm it.
without defining a third group. We seem to be very attracted to villainous activity.
Yeah, counterculture.
We like villains, and it's fascinating because they're bad guys.
We like villains, and we like the underdog, too. So can you square that circle for me? If we like villains, and villains are not underdogs.
Right.
Villains are, it's Bonnie and Clyde. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the other group.
I suspect that they secretly
the outlaws
confirm something in our personalities
the outlaws.
that we don't really want to look at.
Jesse James, the outlaws,
I
those
think
kind of guys?
A lot of people think that they are maybe secretly a bad guy, and they just like to,
I'm going to go with that, Joey. I'm going to go with the third group.
I was just playing Joe Freud.
I love it. The third group that just came to me. The third group that just came to me is those Badlands.
Well, see, that's the group I had, but you said you were going to hold off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spilled the beans.
You kind of blew it. That's okay.
All right. Well, so
I think the Western...
Yeah. Please, do tell more, because we have the Children's Parade coming up this Saturday.
Yes.
Followed by the Ye Mystic Crew invasion.
Yes.
And then followed by the Crew of Santiago. And it's pronounced Santiago, not Santiago. It's the Crew of Santiago. So,
and by the way, it's the night parade, KNIGHT, IGHT.
Correct.
It's
the
not
Knights of Columbus or something to that event.
Knights of
Santiago. That's right.
Yeah. So now we have this huge cultural event that is going to hit Tampa like a little mini storm.
Coming right up.
And Jose Gaspar is going to come in with his flotilla of ships that will be everybody who has a boat. A small boat in Tampa Bay is going to be in that flotilla, and they're all going to come in, and the mayor's going to give them the key to the city.
And I wonder if because of the time that we're living in, if it becomes more and more of a cautionary tale, because it puts everybody on edge. I mean, the security when we were kids, Joey, growing up in this wonderful area that we call West Central Florida, you from Bradentown and me from here in Tampa, when we went to the parade, man, we didn't worry about security. You sat on the curb. The Zenda Grotto guys in their little go-karts and mini bikes rode right around you, and you had to watch your toes because they could run over your toes if you weren't careful. I mean, the pirates came walking past you. There were no barricades. There was no fanaticism, and you didn't really fear a security kind of a situation, right? But now that Tampa has grown so much exponentially, and because we're living in a time when, man, goofy and crazy things are happening, I don't know, Joey. I'm old enough now that, do I really want to get in and mix it up with the Tigres and the Leones? I don't know.
Yeah.
The Vipers? I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Beads, Joey? We didn't have beads back in the day, did we? No, the answer is no.
I guess not.
We had the empty shells from the Pirates' guns, and we had chocolate doubloons that looked like gold coins. They were gold coins that the foil, once you peel the foil back, Hershey's chocolate.
Yeah. Well, this goes right through my neighborhood. The last parade, the night parade, goes right down 7th Avenue in Ybor City.
Tell me.
And so I have seen many, many, many parades over the years. And it's a bizarre moment in human activity. There's no doubt about it.
The night parade is nice because it is short and it is sweet. It's akin to the New Year's Eve parade between the two teams that participate in the Outback Bowl. What used to be the Outback Bowl, and I forget what it's called now. But also we just had a parade Monday. We just had a parade 2 days ago, 48 hours ago.
Yeah.
And it was right here in Ybor City on 15th Street, and that was the Martin Luther. So
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
What is it about a parade that we love so much, Joey, in our culture?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I think parades,
come on, culture,
some kind of cultural forerunners of parades have existed throughout all time. Probably in every culture on earth, there's been some kind of promenade of individuals celebrating something down some kind of a thoroughfare in a village. I think that's probably been happening forever. And I like the visual.
I like the visual there. I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I grew up in Bradenton, and we had our parade. Do you know about our parade?
4th of July parade?
No.
What type of parade?
We had our own pirate. We had the DeSoto parade. And
sure, there's a crew in the Gasparilla parade.
Hernando DeSoto.
That's right.
And
the guys with the silver helmets.
Yeah, and
Conquistadors.
So unlike in Tampa, where all of these individuals who can join crews, the various respectable doctors and lawyers of Tampa, businessmen, in Bradenton, all of those respectable men put on these big these tights with these big fancy balloon pants, and they put on a silver helmet, and they go through the streets throwing out
booty,
firing guns, and gold doubloons they throw out. So I grew up watching that as a boy in Bradenton, and then when I was in high school, a teacher allowed us to pick an assignment in history, and I decided to pick an assignment in of doing research on Hernando DeSoto, and I found out that he was a bad guy.
Man, those guys all had an agenda.
Bad guy.
They were here to, claim territory for the king and queen or whomever, and they weren't necessarily very nice and
pretty
kind.
Bloodthirsty.
Yeah, they weren't. Well, that's where the term comes from. And they weren't kind to the indigenous people who might have been scared out of their wits and or welcoming. Yeah. And boy, did they get it handed to them in a brief second. Listen, pirates. Yeah. Always the topic that will draw people into the conversation. The conversation, which, oh, by the way, is an excellent name for a talk show on Wednesdays. We're going to go right now to George, who's in Sarasota, right up the street from you in Bradentown, and he's going to give us some information on pirates. George, thanks for calling. What do you say?
Oh, thank you for taking my call. Well, first of all, I've got to tell you, I come from a small island in the West Indies that was British till it got independent.
Name that island. Name that island. George, name that island.
Oh, St. Lucia.
St. Lucia. We've been there. We've been there. I know St. Lucia. Go ahead.
Okay, so you've probably climbed the pitons and all that stuff.
Well, my layover there in St. Lucia, I was a flight attendant, George, so you know. I have landed there at the airport. I've stayed at the very nice hotel. And the next morning, I had to leave a little bit early. So I didn't get a lot of time there. But I do know St. Lucia, where it's located and so forth.
Okay. Well, so I know you're talking about pirate parades and stuff, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of the history as I learned it in school.
Please.
About the piracy. And it was basically to counteract the Spanish that the British monarchs commissioned or gave permission to a lot of these old sea captains to go out and rob the Spanish galleons. So what happened was that the officers were all admirals and military experts, naval experts, but they needed a crew. So just like what happened over the American history, is that they went out, picked up drunks in the bars and on the waterfront, people who were going to go to prison, and commandeered them. There was a term used, and threw them onto the ship. And when they were on the ships, they either learned to do the hard work, which is climbing the masts and pulling the sails, or they were flogged or thrown overboard. Okay, so the piracy basically was commissioned by the monarchs because they wanted to counteract the Spaniards and get all the gold. So just like we do in America with the cowboys, we romanticize the pirates. You know, we go to the DeSoto parade, or we go to the Tampa parade, and but those were, in fact, the criminal elements of then Great Britain, particularly in waterfront towns. Just thought I'd throw that in.
George,
Yes.
So when we see the depiction of that in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, you know, of course, the famous movies with Johnny Depp, and they're going to the bar at St. Lucia or Barbados, and they're rounding up the drunks, and they're trying to form a crew. That's similar to what you're referring to, and these were the people that listen. They were down and outers, so they had no choice really. Either you're going to go to jail, or you can take your chance on this galleon, and we're going to go do some work out here. But I don't know anything about sailing. Well, you're going to learn, or you're going to become shark bait. But what are your prospects? If your prospects are go to jail, or you're going to take whatever chance you can to survive.
Yeah.
Well, George,
I'm sorry, not to interrupt.
No, go ahead. I just want to say, George, you are definitely a gentleman and a scholar, because you have that exactly right. The interaction between the Spanish Empire and the British Empire literally created the world of piracy, and it's a fascinating moment in time.
Right. The only thing I wanted to add to that, the only payoff that was offered the indentured crew was that if they survived and won and got what was then called booty, gold and whatever they could get off the Spanish ships, they would get a cut. So, so if you were lucky enough to survive the cannon fire and you took a Spanish galleon, you got a portion of the gold or whatever they got.
Well, George, I will say this. This is a great first call for us today, because you've got us now all thinking and motivated. I will say that your accent does not hurt when you're talking to us about Pirates of the Caribbean. Your accent is spot on. And I know it's not contrived. I know it's who you are. So thank you so much.
No, that's the real thing. I could have been a pirate, but I was just not that.
It's a rough life. Listen, nothing to romanticize.
Yeah.
It's a rough life.
No.
Yeah.
Very similar, and I know that's not the subject, and I'm not I don't mean to inject anything that's they're very similar to the Old West, if you think about it.
Correct.
Yes.
Or even the South.
Correct.
Because even the South.
Indentured servitude. You mentioned it earlier. Indentured servitude.
Yeah.
It's you had precious little choice, and if you were running from the law and you wanted to try to stay out of the long arm of the law, you might just join a wagon train and go west.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was the hope.
Great call, George.
Thank you so much, George. Thank you for listening.
I always enjoy listening to you, gentlemen. It's always very informative.
Thank you.
And I learn a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's George from Sarasota. We love our callers, man. Look at that. I got goosebumps.
It's good stuff. And by the way, I want to say real quick that George is spot on in his comments, and he's also spot on in mentioning the indentured process, because when you start to look at the history of the world,
a lot of that going on.
Slavery is a big issue in our culture, and it is a significant issue for all of us in our history, particularly our African American, our Black American friends who are. It's been a part of their past, but people do not realize that some of the first indentured slaves that came to America were actually from Portugal and Britain. They were actually what we would call today a white person. Number one. Number two,
Yep, European.
Another way that, or European, yeah. Another way of looking at this is that if you were a brawler and you got drunk in a bar, you might wake up the next morning on a ship, and you never gave any consent to go on that ship. And once you're on a ship and you're at sea, you are not leaving that ship. So that's basically slavery. So probably more than a few of these crew members were men who were brought in against their own will.
No doubt. No doubt. What a great call from George. Thank you, George. What a great way to start the call. Listen, let's keep this going. We got momentum now. I tell you what we'll do. We'll do a little station ID, which we do all the time each week at the bottom of the hour. Then we'll come back. We'll give you the phone numbers to call. George didn't need us to give him the phone number. He knew it. Our next caller also knows the phone number, so we didn't need to give it. But we will do it on the backside of this ID.
Hi, I'm Darren McCauley, and you're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 FM in Tampa.
Oh, that's Darren McCauley. He's got a nice voice, too.
Nice man.
If things don't work out for Colonel Dr. Darren McCauley, he can always go into radio. He's got a great voice.
He's a nice guy.
So listen, now I'll give you that number and I'll give you that email address. If you'd like to send us an email, always, we're welcoming those emails. Jessica's standing by to take those emails. DJ@WMNF.org. If you'd like to give us a call, the number is 813-239-9663. You can send us a text if you just want to send us a text. We can read those on the air as well. 813-433-0885. Today, we just the topic happens to be pirates right now. But we're gonna shift around here in a couple of minutes. But we'll talk about whatever you guys would like to talk about. If it happens to be pirates, then so be it. We're going now to our phone. This is Miss Annie Ellis from Sustainable Living, our dear friend Annie. Annie, what say you?
Hey, you guys. Good to hear your voices.
Good to hear yours.
Annie.
Good to hear yours. Happy New Year.
My baby.
Happy New Year.
Are you cold, Annie? Are you cold up there?
No, I actually am sitting right by my wood stove, burning wood as
Oh.
fast as I can.
I can see it now.
Annie, I had a quick question for you, Annie, before your comment.
Sure.
Do you chop wood and carry water? I mean, are you that far back up in the woods that you chop wood and
Well,
carry
I don't
water?
have to carry water because I have a pump, an electric pump for my solar power for my well.
Okay.
So I live like a regular person I just turn the faucet on.
Good. Let's ring a bell for that.
Wait a minute. I've got to say something.
Yeah.
Annie, you have never lived like a regular person.
A regular person, that was probably not the right choice.
Well said, Joey. Well said.
So I wanted to comment. I actually have you guys on a timer on my phone to remind me when your show's on.
Oh, thank you.
Which is really nice because I
That's
love
awesome.
hearing you guys.
Thank you.
I love y'all as people anyway, but I love your show. I really do. I think it's just turned into a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
So, but I missed yesterday's show, so I'll just cancel that one out. So you said. So I wanted to call because you're talking about Gasparilla.
Yes.
And, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, which is where Mardi Gras originated. And we started it because...
Well, wait a minute. I did not know that.
Don't bury the lead, Annie. Come on now.
Mardi Gras originated in Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama.
And migrated to Nolens from there.
What happened is Mobile was a pretty hot city at the time, because it was a port city, much like New Orleans, and it was kind of more happening than New Orleans at the time. It was a long time ago, of course. Mm-hmm. And so then New Orleans liked what we were doing, and they wanted to learn it, and so we taught them, about that. Now, the woman which is way better than what Mobile does, although Mobile's is great, and, I've been involved in, my family was in what they call the secret societies, which is what you said earlier, Joe, about the gentlemen would gather together and have these groups formed, and then they would dress up in costume and do the parades. And that's what they do. And in fact, my favorite thing is to go to the float party, which is where you go to the Quonset huts, which is where they build the floats. And they do a different theme every year, so we don't see the same floats every time. We see a different theme, and they're fully decorated completely differently than they were the last year. Wow. They have different costumes that's, relevant to the themes. And the particular one my stepdad was the MOT's Mystics of Time, and they had 3 baby dragons and a big mama dragon, and she would go straight, they would wiggle wobble down.
Come on, that sounds like fun.
Wow.
And
Mystics of Time.
Smoke and fire. They still do it, actually.
Annie, can we start a new radio show, and we'll call ourselves, the three of us, the Mystics of Time? And we'll just do something on that. That sounds like fun.
I think that's a good idea.
Doesn't that sound good, Joey?
I'm on board. But what I wanted to tell you was
Yes.
is the reason why Gasparilla is happening is because there was, I don't know her name, I didn't take time to look it up, but there was a wealthy woman in Florida, in Tampa, that wanted to do something like this. And so she contacted New Orleans, and then they taught her, I say it a little differently, New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so they contacted her to teach them how to do it. And now, in Tampa, maybe you don't know, but a lot of people, they have these sort of secret societies, and they have the king and the queen, and they have the court and the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the Gasparilla, that's part of the New Orleans, that's part of the Mobile Mardi Gras. Mm-hmm. So it's more than just those 2 or 3 days parading down the deal. There's a whole lot more involved before that. So I just wanted to let you know, in case you didn't know, that it was mimicked. First off, I didn't know you didn't know that Mobile started. Then it was mimicked from New Orleans, and it was a particular wealthy woman in Tampa that started this whole thing.
Interesting.
Probably living in the Hyde Park area, I would assume.
Interesting.
At that time.
Well,
at
probably
that time.
before it turned into the hippies and we fixed it all back up.
Right. No. When Hyde Park was in its original iteration,
Absolutely.
probably when those homes were built in the early 1900s.
That's right.
Because 1906, I think, is the year that the first Gasparilla Parade, if I'm not mistaken, Joey, either 1904, 1906, one of those. And, the Columbia Restaurant was 1905, so they probably had a float in that very first parade.
Yeah.
But the point is, they were very pedestrian back in the early times, right? They were like horse-drawn carriages and carts.
Well, we call that pedestrian. I mean, that would just... I don't know why you would call it that, but that's what they had. They didn't have.
That's true. But they hadn't gone into the opulence or over the top. They just wanted to get something together so that the people of Tampa could rally. There's a rallying point, right? And maybe the business community was doing it to help promote business and so forth.
I think the wealthy were doing it because they wanted to have their social standing upstanding.
Yes,
And
got you.
It took a lot of money for you to be able to create that. Now, and just to throw this in, one of my first memories as a child is being held up by my uncle, and I wake up and they're putting beads around my neck. It was in a night parade, and those were and maybe, I'm not sure because I haven't been there in a while, but they have been still drawing these particular floats at night with mules and donkeys and horses. And the people for lighting, they had these flame lights. It was like some type of a candle that you would light. It would spew fire, and they had it pushed behind with metal, and they would hold it up. In fact, it was always black people that had covered themselves in fabric so they could hold that and not get burned.
Really? Wow.
The sign, the times.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I will.
Because
I will concur with you, Annie, and support your thesis that the original, because the University of Tampa Plant Hall has a series of framed photographs up and down the hallways and of various historical moments in Tampa, and many of them, or a group of them at least, are dedicated to the history of Gasparilla and its parades. And you can see in those very, very first Gasparilla parades that it is a moneyed, fancy event, because the women are all the women on Bayshore Boulevard are dressed to the nines, and so are the men who are not in the parade, just the pedestrians who are watching the parade. So yeah, it was definitely a moneyed event in the beginning, as it is in many ways today.
It is, I'm sure, because I know in Mobile still they have the tea and the lunch for the Queen during the day at a big facility. And everybody's just, all the women are in hats, and it's a big thing. So I think that it's just not. I mean, if you've ever been to one in New Orleans or one in Mobile, you could see the difference. And it goes on for a couple of weeks. It's not just a couple of days, because each organization has their own parade night.
Yes,
and then they have a ball afterwards.
Our parades are weeks apart as well.
And who doesn't love a parade?
Golly, yes.
I mean, any excuse to have one, Annie. Any excuse.
That was my favorite thing, and that was when they used to throw big stuff. Now they don't do it anymore because it'll hurt you.
That's right.
Full Cracker Jack boxes, and then they'd have full streamers, full tubes of streamers.
Yes.
And at the end of the Mardi Gras parade, there'd be streamer paper up to your knees.
Wow.
In the street all over. It was fantastic. And then weeks and weeks later, you would find confetti in your coat pocket.
That's right.
What a great memory. And as you mentioned the streamers, I could visualize it, because those were kind of the real simple celebratory. Then later came those little popper things where you would pull on them and they'd make a pop, and then confetti would come out as things became more sophisticated. But it's like sparklers were, on the 4th of July, that's pretty much what we had. And maybe firecrackers. Now you can, for $1,500, you can launch your own your own fireworks display in your backyard.
But now, Annie, they're throwing beads that are made out of plastic, and I know that you avoid plastic at all costs.
And they get in the waterway, and what's happening with all that? Can we stop that?
A lot of it, I'm not sure if they finally did it, but they were saying that they were trying to outlaw it being thrown in the water. You were talking about all the boats in the water and stuff, following the boat up there.
Yes.
And they were trying to outlaw that because there was so much plastic in the water, and they were cleaning it out, and it was huge pollutant.
Yeah. Well, the ecological impact of Gasparilla. There's a whole topic right there.
And one of these years, Joe and I are we're gonna get up early the morning after, and we're gonna go out there, and we're gonna do our community service, and we're gonna wear our the conversation T-shirts on, and we're gonna go out there, and we're gonna use those grabbers and the buckets, and we're gonna pick up all that stuff. No, we're not, Annie. Don't believe me. Please don't believe me. Because that is not happening. I would love to. In my mind, I see myself doing that, but not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Annie, we love you. Thank you so much for calling.
Hey, it's so great to hear your voice, dear.
That's Sustainable Living. Annie, tell everybody when they can hear your wonderful show.
On Mondays, always from 11 until noon. And this Monday, I will be hosting, and Julia Palashek will be on, and she is the environmental portion of the City of Tampa Water Association.
And,
awesome.
And that's super important to us here in Tampa, isn't it?
Sure is.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, Annie. Great call.
That's the great Annie Ellis, host, one of the hosts of Sustainable Living, as she said, on Mondays at 10 o'clock. Joey.
Yeah.
Can we shift gears real quick with about quarter of an hour to go and almost the show rounding the corner? So if we talk about the early days of Tampa, and I guess it just evolved into the Pirates conversation about Gasparilla. Why don't we touch a little bit on cigars? I mean, I know you used to be a much bigger aficionado, and you've kind of tacked away from it. You're smoking less these days, which is probably good.
No,
for
I'm
you.
not smoking less. I don't smoke at all.
I know, which is probably better for your health because you did smoke a lot.
No, it's definitely better for my health.
In the early days.
Yes.
But, there are some people that associate our area right here in Tampa.
Oh, certainly.
With cigars in Cigar City. And it's funny because yesterday, and I don't know, because sometimes, I don't know if you feel this way too, but, if you just happen to be talking to a friend on a conversation and you have an iPhone, or you happen to be talking aloud, because it's aloud and not out loud, if you know what I'm saying to you. First time I saw that written in a page, I said, why are they aloud? You haven't mentioned cigars.
Right.
The next thing you know, AI is already all over this. Right. And you're going to start getting advertisements on your Facebook page for cigars. What's all that about?
Right.
Well, and that doesn't matter. It could be
Thank you, algorithm.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be ED medication. It could be whatever. You just mention, astrophysicists, and
you search anything, it's going to show up in your algorithms on your social media.
I saw a video yesterday on a cigar factory, and I couldn't quite figure out where it was. I assumed it was in the Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. Modern cigar factory.
Or Nicaragua or Honduras.
Correct.
Those are the three biggies.
Modern cigar factory with the modern accoutrement, but still hand-rolled cigars, right? So it looked like if you could transport what was taking place in the late 1800s in Ybor City and move it up to today with air conditioning and modern... Right. Listen, they're still rolling by hand. They're still using the chaveta and all the presses. But it looked much more comfortable, although the seats looked as uncomfortable as the seats that our great-grandparents rolled cigars in. It was like, wow, I'd never seen this. And it was row after row after row, probably hundreds of employees in this cigar factory. I was just fascinated. I said, wow, that's what it must have looked like. Although we've seen the pictures. Our great-grandparents sat elbow to elbow in a hot, stuffy, poorly probably ventilated cigar factory.
No, it was not poor. It was very well ventilated.
It had to be well ventilated, right?
Because cigar factories have lots of windows, and they had to have lots
for the light, right?
For the light,
and the ventilation,
because they did not have electric lighting above them, and also for ventilation, because tobacco dust. Even then, they understood the issues of
the health risk. The health risk involved in ingesting.
Health risk, maybe, but just the inconvenience of having to have dust all over you all the time.
All day long.
Yeah.
And the buildings were also built a certain way because of the light and, faced east and west and so forth. So anyway, jump out of that big brain of yours, Joey. Give us, give us a quick and dirty on cigars.
Well, let me tie it back to Gasparilla a little bit in this way. What I would love to see happen in Tampa is that there be a Founders Day parade created, and the founders, to celebrate founders who are a little more noble than pirates, is that the two men who really made Tampa were Henry Plant and Vicente Martinez Ybor. Mr. Ybor, Don Vicente, came here and brought major manufacturing industry to Tampa, even though it was a handmade product. Mr. Plant brought transportation and tourism to Tampa. And those two men made early Tampa. And when you go down to Ybor City today, you have to keep in mind that all of those historic structures you see, every last one of them that was built prior to 1930 was built from the economy of cigars. It might have been a building that was built as a dry goods store or a dress shop or a restaurant, but the money that the people were spending in that facility was coming from the making of cigars. And the Cubanos who were there were the people who were generating the economy. It's that simple. And it was we cannot appreciate today the size of that power of that industry because we do not appreciate what cigar smoking meant to men through North America and Europe in the late 1800s.
Can we say, Joey, because you are a historian and this is an area that you know intimately well, would it be foolish to suggest that 60% of the population in 1890 was involved in the cigar industry one way or the other, either as an artisan rolling the cigars or the farmers and the bakers and the dairymen and so on and so forth that supported that industry? Would it be, because I think the smallest minority of people were doing something completely different from supporting the cigar industry.
Well, I think that you can make this simple analysis as an equation. Everything in Ybor City was tied to the cigar industry. The bakery, it didn't matter what it was.
The haberdashery.
Yeah, everything, because it's like a coal mining town. The coal mine shuts down, the town dies. The same thing was true with Ybor City. When the cigar industry collapsed in 1930 due to the Great Depression to cigarettes, Mechanization was not the significant issue. It was an issue, but what was really happening was mostly the sort of evils of the cigar industry and the cigarette industry. I'm sorry, that wanted to push the cigars out and make room for themselves. And then also you have the Great Depression, in which there's no money. And when you put those, it's like a double punch, and it brought the cigar industry to its knees. But up until that point, every single thing in Ybor City, if you were a Sicilian farmer, you were getting your money from people that were making their money from the cigar industry. So, yeah, it was huge. It was huge. And that's why, we should, let's look at it this way.
Founders Day Parade.
A Founders Day Parade.
Founders Day celebration.
I would be happy to talk to anybody who wants to get behind that idea, but that idea should be happening.
And
we should have a parade in Ybor City for Mr. Ybor, not for Jose Gaspar so much.
Come on now. Yeah. I'm in favor of that.
There we go.
I'm in favor of that.
Let's do it.
So, and suffice it to say that Mr. Plant and Mr. Ybor probably had a mutual, a strong mutual respect for each other. But they were competitive businessmen, but they needed each other, right? So it was Mr. Ybor that needed Mr. Plant's trains to get his product up north to get onto ships to go to Europe. Mm-hmm. But also Mr. Plant needed to move some product, and it was Mr. Ybor providing him with the product.
Well, they were. I don't know. Yeah, they weren't competing. I think what was happening was one of the key factors that brought Ybor to Tampa was the train. So yes.
So as always, our conversations evoke response from the audience that's listening, and we love that about you guys. We want to go to Barry in St. Pete before we get off the air, because Barry's got something to say about piracy. Hi, Barry.
Okay, good morning. Great show.
Thank you.
So, wanted to give you a little bit of humor, actually. You know how your mama always told you don't sit at the table with your elbows on the table?
Correct.
Okay, so back in those days, it was actually the Royal Navy that used to go kidnap people, not the pirates. It was the Royal Navy, the press gangs, and they would go into the bars and the taverns around the port, and they would look for people, drunk people preferably, that had their elbows on the table, because when you imagine you're out on a ship and it's rolling around and you're sitting at the table eating your meal, your square meal, you would put your elbows on the table to keep your plate in place. Okay, so when they went into the bars, if they saw somebody sitting with their elbows on the table, it was a good indication that they had some prior knowledge of the sea.
Interesting.
So they would be the first ones that would get pressed into the Royal Navy. So that's why you better not sit at the table with your elbows.
Oh, Barry, listen, this is what we appreciate so much about our listening audience, because Joe and I are both we're both kind of the same mold. We love to learn.
Little geeky. We're a little geeky.
And we love to learn new things.
Nerdy.
I mean, for me, I like to put these little tidbits in there to keep filling my basket full of information. Yeah. And this is great, Barry.
There are so many terms that we all use that came from back in those nautical days. The devil in the deep blue sea. You heard that expression?
Oh, yeah, my mother says it all the time. I'm caught between the devil and the deep blue sea.
When they had to put new caulking on the deck of the ships, the last plank on the outside of the ship was called the devil. And in order to caulk that plank, they had to hang over the side of the ship.
That's correct.
So they were between the devil and the deep blue sea. There you go.
I love it. Barry, so can I ask you, without giving too much away, where is that wonderful accent from?
I'm originally from London, England.
We'll take it. We take it. We love it. So you know a little thing or two about the maritime history of Great Britain.
Also sounds like your mama was on top of it.
Yes.
I could tell you so many more, too. But, that's where that came from. So
Barry, thank you so much for listening, and please call us anytime. Happy New Year, sir. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We love our listeners.
Great call, Barry.
This is good stuff. Let's go one more real quick before we get out of here. This is DeAndre in Brandon, and he wants to talk to us a little bit about real estate.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out, is there any daylight in between the persons of like Fortune Taylor and all the real estate owners, landowners, black landowners of Tampa, East Tampa, along the river, and just ways, I guess, both west and east. Mm-hmm. And this group, the Black Legion, were they real? Because I've been seeing stuff about these guys. They were right there next to the Klan. and, this and that. There was a lot of black real estate along the water. They come along. There's no more black real estate technically, right up on the water. There we have a hotel after, orange groves and other produce grows. Like, is there any daylight between the Black Legion and black real estate?
And when you say, is there any daylight, what do you mean by that, DeAndre?
Well, are there descendants listening to us right now in their homes they had since the early 1900s, since Tampa was incorporated and all that? Like, I want to know personally, because there's so much that seems like obscured as a result of all the fanfare.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
DeAndre, we are almost up against the clock here. We're going to have to kind of wrap things in a couple of minutes. But what an interesting way to end the conversation today, because we could do our research over the next week, and we can kind of pick up on this next week. We might just do that.
Yeah.
The other mission I have for you, DeAndre, if you choose to accept it, is, and I fantasize about this, I wonder about this. How did before it was named MLK Avenue, it was referred to as Buffalo Avenue. Most of us here in Tampa that have been here for a minute know that.
Right.
And I'm wondering how Buffalo Avenue got to be called Buffalo Avenue. Now, I've heard people tell me it was because of people that moved here from Buffalo, New York, but, and named after that group of people that transplanted themselves here. But I like to think that maybe, just maybe, because out in the 40th Street area, there was an encampment back in the late 1800s of Buffalo soldiers. And maybe, just maybe, if you wanted to visit that encampment, you took this road, which went east, and eventually you would get to their encampment. And so by that, it was referred to as Buffalo Avenue. I don't know, but if there's anybody out there listening that would like to research that and come up with something verifiable, DeAndre, if you can dig a little deeper and scratch around and find out, I think it makes a fascinating narrative, but I don't know that it's accurate.
I can tell you something now. These roads, they facilitated commerce. Whatever the commerce was, and whoever was common to those commerce, like cobblers, bakers, whoever, lumberjacks, whatever, it's probably going to answer some of that question, because those roads go a long way east and west.
DeAndre, let me just say to you that Madam Fortune Taylor is now becoming to get some of her respect that she deserves, and
finally getting her flowers. Finally,
and I think that we are beginning to open up more and more information about Black history in Tampa. Mario and I have been working on the idea of bringing Fred Hearns in, who is the sort of the lead authority on this subject.
Maybe we'll bring DeAndre in too.
But
maybe we'll just have to bring DeAndre.
Founders Day sounds impressive. That's what really got me jumping.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think that a Founders Day could include more than 2 or 3 founders. It could be for many people in Tampa that have contributed to the early history. That would make a great Founders Day.
That's a whole big Founders tree. So
I tell you what, I'm going to do some research, and DeAndre, please listen next week, and I'm going to come back with some answers for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for always being there for us, DeAndre. Thank you. Happy New Year, my brother.
Happy New Year. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, we're about to get out of here in just a couple of seconds. As you can see, Sam is cranking up the studio next door. But listen, Joey, what a fascinating, wonderful show today.
Yeah.
See, sometimes we don't need a guest. Sometimes we invite our listeners to call in, and they do such a great job of filling those gaps for us. I think today's show was impressive in that look at what we were able to cultivate from our listening audience. Joey, what's coming up next?
Well, I just want to say thank you to Jessica, our board op. Joe Remo is...
Where's Joe Remo?
Joe Remo's on our phones today.
Wave, Joe, wave. We can see you.
But I also want to let you know that I see next door, Sam is cranking up the studio.
Yeah.
And she has...
Who's in there?
She has Southern Avenue with her today.
Live,
right here in the studio. And Southern Avenue is performing tonight at Skipper's for a WMNF special concert. So please, folks, listen up on our next hour with Sam.
Next month, we'll be celebrating Black History Month, and also on the 18th of next month, we would be remiss if we didn't mention, we're going to be fundraising again So stay tuned. We're going to need your help when it comes time for fundraising. Listen, as always, we thank each and every one of you for listening. Thank you for being our biggest supporters and our fans. We love you. We appreciate you so much. You're listening, as always, to WMNF Tampa.